Our speaker today, Shawn Finnell, is a collection manager at White Oak, an executive board member of the Elephant Manager Association. He began work with elephants in 2003 and has had experience with over 50 elephants at the Oklahoma Zoo, the Oregon Zoo, and now at White Oak, during significant exhibit and program expansions. He is passionate about the leadership, animal welfare, conservation, and innovation for animals in human care. He will speak about his journey to improve wellness for animals, for elephants in human care. Shawn Finnell.
Hi. Welcome, everyone. My name is Shawn Finnell, and thanks for having me speak today. It's a huge privilege and honor. I myself am also a Unitarian. I've been practicing since 2006. Coincidentally, the first year I started working with elephants, but not because I worked with elephants, just... I don't know if we have it. Yeah, if we want to go to the next slide, that'd be great. I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas. I've always had a love for our natural world. A lot of boys my age were into sports and running around outside and playing with other kids. I was more into picking up bugs and just the natural world. And throughout my childhood, my grandma, Jean Finnell, really supported that love and really expanded my interests. I was very, very fortunate to have that growing up. In high school, I became a volunteer at the Sedgwick County Zoo. Volunteers at that time shadowed the keepers. Some would toss us their keys and say, go for it, and we would go wild cleaning the enclosures and kind of doing their job. But it really set the tone for the rest of my career, which has been really awesome. The two keepers in that picture, the one that's kind of highlighted there is Mike. Behind the elephant there is Luke. They're doing a demo with the two elephants at the time, Cinda and Stephanie. And that was a really special time in my career, or a really special time before my career, actually, of just getting to be set on that path by people who really loved wildlife. It was also an opportunity for me to meet my wife and fellow volunteer, Rebecca. We have been married for 17 years, and we share the love for wildlife and our daughter, Meredith. Without the support of my wife, I would not have been able to have such an amazing career. Okay, ready for the next slide. I worked with many species throughout my career, but none have had the impact as Asian elephants have. The picture here is Belle with her newborn calf, Packy. Then at the Washington Park Zoo, now known as an Oregon Zoo, Packy was born in 1962. He was the first elephant to be conceived and born in captivity in the United States, which is pretty amazing. It was actually the first elephant born in 44 years. There were elephants born prior, but they were actually brought into the country pregnant. Packy was welcomed to a world that was state-of-the-art for 1960s. His paddocks were asphalt. He had a pool, concrete stalls, very few conspecifics, and not a lot to entertain his days. That's the way we kept elephants in 1960. The concept was to keep everything sterile and clean as possible. It was with good intentions. They didn't want the elephants to get sick. Over the years, the Oregon Zoo elephant program would grow to one of the most prolific breeding programs in the United States, having over 28 elephants born. Ready for the next slide? When I arrived in Oregon Zoo in 2012, Packy celebrated his 50th birthday. It shows you how long-lived this amazing species is. I've even met an elephant in their 70s. The exhibit began to really show its age, and they were looking at a new age. They wanted to expand the zoo. It was the most ambitious project that they had to date. The theme of it was welfare. They weren't trying to transport a person to Asia or sell popcorn, but rather provide the elephants with the best lives possible. When we finished the exhibit, the community had a completely revamped elephant program. The new exhibit featured time feeders, hoists, pools, and large, comfortable stalls. It was award-winning and really transformed the lives of those elephants there. Ready for the next slide? Some of the lessons that I learned from this elephant expansion are elephants benefit greatly from having choices, whether to be inside, outside, to feed, swim, who to socialize with. It was also about embracing that we don't know everything, but having the confidence to try new things, try new elements in the design, try new elements to connect with people. There was a lot of bravery that went into that exhibit. But the biggest factor to improving the lives of elephants is each other. Like us, elephants are social species. Their lives are greatly improved when they can share space with each other, embrace each other. Ready for the next slide? I joined White Oak in the summer of 2019. I've been a part of a team that has led the transition of the largest herd of elephants in North America. We have transitioned management styles, daily routines, and physical locations from southern Florida to Yulee. This has been the most rewarding and challenging that I have been a part of. It's been a wild ride, to say the least. My experience with elephants has been transformative in my life. Some of the lessons that I've learned are elephants are incredibly resilient and adapt to new situations. Humans are not so much resilient. We take much more empathy, understanding, time to advance our cause, something that we really have to embrace and understand. Elephant management and conservation begins and ends with people. Leadership is the single largest factor in creating environments and situations to provide the best lives for elephants possible. Without great leadership, few things are possible. Ready for the next slide? In order to leave, we must have a clear purpose. For me, as in our faith, my purpose is love. Love for the natural world, love for a diverse planet, helping protect the natural world so our children can share in that love. Some think we inherit the world from our forefathers, but in reality, we borrow it from our children. Ready for the next slide? As in the video talked about, Asian elephants are extremely endangered. There are less than 80,000 elephants left in the world. And these elephants are spread between 13 countries, what we call range countries, all throughout Southeast Asia. Over 90% of their home range has been deforested, destroyed, used for humans. Elephants are known as a keystone species. Conserving elephants saves countless plants and animal species. Ready for the next slide? This picture is often what we think about when conserving elephants. But the opportunity to see elephants in a wild setting is disappearing by the day. To be honest, I would go so far as to say that we don't have any elephants on the planet that are not directly affected by humans every single day. Ready for the next slide? Asian elephants are unique as they have been kept in human care for thousands of years. These are bull elephants found in India. A lot of elephants in India are kept for religious and cultural significance, which I feel is something we should preserve, especially as Unitarians, that we embrace other cultures. In Thailand, 2/3 of the elephant population are in human care, directly. In Bhutan and Myanmar, large populations of the elephants are being transitioned away from logging. And we, by and large, don't know what that means. Where will they go? What will their lives be? Those are huge questions that are being asked by the global community. On the islands of Borneo and Sumatra, we are finding more orphaned elephants. And we're not sure why that is. They are being displaced by agriculture, and their future is uncertain. Currently in the United States, to put it in perspective, we have more captive elephants than there are wild elephants in China or Vietnam. Ready for the next slide? Due to the limited number of Asian elephants on the planet, it is becoming critical that elephants in human care get the best life possible. Even outside of range countries play a vital role, particularly in the area of welfare. An example is an elephant-specific virus that is called elephant endiotropic herpes virus, otherwise known as EHV because that's a mouthful. This virus was actually first discovered in the United States. Unfortunately, this virus kills around 40% of calves in the US population. It's devastating. This virus is being discovered more and more in range countries. And we are finding it is because the populations are becoming more fragmented, which means they don't have exchange of these viruses. So they become very deadly within the populations. The United States has set labs up to monitor and treat elephants in this virus and have really been on the forefront of helping in this regard. We are also currently working on a vaccine for EHV. This is truly a global effort. Conservation of these elephants, or any elephants, is interdependence. Interdependence with humans and elephants, interdependence of people, religions, ethnicities, cultures, and nationalities. Ready for the next slide? When we think about threats like the video showed, poaching for ivory is oftentimes kind of the most visual representation of this. And yes, it exists, and yes, poaching is devastating. However, elephants have somewhat become refugees of nature. In the wild, they control and carve out their environment. But in our world, in the human world, we've already done that. We leave very little room for wildlife or wild places. Something to really consider is the United States has an amazing flora and fauna of major invertebrates such as bears and cougars. How much world have we left for them? And how much world do we expect for people to leave for elephants or rhinos or other species? It's something we really have to ask ourselves and be compassionate to other people about. Ready for the next slide? This is a photo of elephant-human conflict. An elephant is being driven off from a crop. Oh, I apologize. I slipped ahead to orphans. Oh, there you go. Being driven off to a crop. So more than likely that elephant doesn't have a home. That's a large male elephant. It's probably been driven out of his territory and is looking for something to eat. So he's eating that crop. These are two species forced together by globalization. Two species trying to earn a living or survive. Two species sharing the land. And it's a very dangerous situation, oftentimes resulting in death of either humans or elephants, which is actually very common in some of these range countries. It's very dangerous living next to elephants. Something to really think about is this pushing together is really difficult to see, and particularly when we think about elephants have switched the way that they live to mainly be nocturnal. So a lot of these human conflicts are actually at night and darkness. And you can imagine how dangerous that would be. Ready for the next slide? These are some of the elephant calves that have been abandoned due to encroachment. Like I said before, the exact cause isn't known. Unfortunately, these calves are often found in very bad shape, and the survival rates are very low. Most that survive don't assimilate in a wild herd, so often being taken into direct human care. They often are captive for the rest of their lives. You know, when we really think about it, there are a lot of critics of elephants in human care or elephants in zoos, and I respect that criticism. I think we should always be striving to improve the lives of elephants or animals in general, especially the ones in human care. However, the reality is that elephants don't know that. They don't have a place to live. And we have to have a way to connect people to these beautiful places that they will have no ability to see ever in their lives, or even have any interest to connect with. Ready for the next slide? This striking image, and your eyes are not deceiving you, are elephants that have access to garbage. Unfortunately, some of the elephants that consume large amounts of garbage will perish. To me, I think this is a visual of a representation of what we've done to the planet, how we share the earth. This is how we truly share the earth. We can show beautiful pictures of elephants in these wonderful forests and all these great things, but this is it. Elephants sifting through garbage to find something to eat. Essentially, our land practices, overconsumption, and lack of cooperation are slowly throwing our planet's rich natural history away. When we think about justice, I encourage all of us to consider our environmental justice, the right to clean water, responsible land management, responsible business practices that allow us to share the species with each other and with other species. Mahatma Gandhi said, "What we are doing to the forests of the world is a mere reflection of what we are doing to ourselves and to one another." Ready for the next slide? But I do offer hope. It is never too late. We can always choose love, choose optimism, choose a future for our children to see elephants and other species, choose to be tolerant of each other. And we choose this every day by our actions, by what we buy, what we consume, how we vote, who we choose to spend time with, our compassion. We can inspire future generations of wildlife, wild species, wild places, our beautiful planet, but it's a choice, and we have to make that choice every single day. Thank you.